Welcome to the Coaching Gold Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Rudy Jackson, and I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Dorian Cunion. Dorian, are you ready for another exciting episode today?
I'm excited. We have Shakti on today, and I've known Shakti for about 2 years, and she's a great coach. So I'm excited to get this going.
Great. Me too. Shakti, we're going to start this by saying welcome to the Coaching Gold Podcast and give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to our audience.
Good afternoon, Dr. Rudy Jackson. Dorian, wonderful to be here with you. Thank you so much for the invitation to join you. My name is Shakti Radhakishun. I am a coactive trained and certified coach in Miami, Florida. I am also certified with the International Coaching Federation. I've been coaching for a little bit over 3 years now, what I consider official coaching for a little bit over 3 years now. And I transitioned into coaching from an 18 plus years career in investment banking. I work with a wide range of individuals, but there's a sweet spot, I think, in working with emerging leaders and people who are in either professional or personal life transitions. So my focus in coaching tends to be a little bit more on leadership and life coaching.
Okay, great. Well, that's exactly what I think our audience needs to hear, because that leads us right into our first question of, we know a little bit about your background, but that origin story, what led you to become a coach?
Yeah. And I think that this ties very much to the people that I am coaching now. I think in my experience in my prior career path, I was very aware of some of my leadership skills and some of the things where I felt I really wanted to gain a little bit more growth and learning and kind of polish who I was as a leader. When I actually went into coach training, I didn't really do so in order to become a coach. I did it from the space of expanding my capacity to really take in how I wanted to show up as a leader for myself, for others, and because I was going through a career transition. And in doing so, I was really reflecting on the things that I wanted to be better in, the things that I wanted to improve, where I felt I really wanted to take this next step. At the same time, I felt a little bit of hesitancy in staying in the industry that I was in. It felt like I had completed where it was serving me and where I was serving it. And so during the coach training process, I was relatively surprised by how me being a coach resonated for those that I was working with. And in that process, really started enjoying it a lot, and fell in love with it, to be honest with you. And then decided, I want to see where this takes me. I want to go with what feels right and see where it takes me.
That's great, because that journey into coaching sounds like it began with kind of career and personal development. And then as you got into it and you had the awareness of the skills you wanted to build, as you started working, you got that validation that it's actually having an impact. And I think that's just great. And we've heard lots and lots of coaches who talk about their journey into coach training not being initially for the purpose of becoming a coach. So that's it's been pretty common. So thanks for sharing that.
So we both went through the coactive coaching model, which has a big focus on the combination between doing and being. And I know personally, as I was going through the training, that shift of really thinking, it's not just what I want to do, but how I want to show up while I'm doing it, just like completely like revolutionized the way that I was going about doing things. I'm curious, as you have transitioned to being a coach, how has your view around the world changed?
Wow. I feel like in every aspect of myself, how I show up for myself and how I show up for those around me, I have shifted, and it's that coaching mindset. It's not just being the coach, right? But really embodying the coaching mindset and bringing it to your full life, because it's not something you can just do. You don't just show up and coach. It's something that I think, in my experience, you end up embodying it. It becomes a complete part of who you are. For me, the biggest places where I've noticed an impact are my capacity of connecting the being and the doing. So being really conscious and aware of that, learning from it, learning from how I want to shift it, reframing things, shifting my mindset around difficult situations or choices I need to make or what's in front of me. Listening, really listening without judgment. This is a huge thing, right? I think we automatically have so much judgment built into our listening and our our thoughts, our process of problem solving or whatever it is that we're dealing with all day long. And so being able to do so initially from the perspective of non-judgment really shifted my capacity to be there for others and be there for myself. And pausing. I think this is another really big thing for me, being able to pause and reflect and reframe. These are big learnings that impact me on a daily basis.
I love that. I was just on vacation in Italy, and when we were going around, the tour guide was showing a turtle, and they were talking about like one of the ancient families, and they had this model of hurry up slowly. And I love that. And as you were talking, it reminded me of that because there's things that we want to do, and like we got long thing to do list, but sometimes we need to actually slow down, listen, not necessarily overreact to what people are saying or what people are doing. So I can really see how the coaching training and actually sitting with people is helping you evolve that skill. So I love that.
Well, Shakti, we have one of the biggest topics in coaching, and I'm glad you're here to take this topic on. I can't wait to hear your views, your experiences on it. And the topic is navigating conflict. And so let's just jump right in and start by sharing what you do to help your clients become aware of and develop skills for navigating conflict.
Thank you, Rudy. That's a difficult question to answer in a concise way. I think that, like almost every topic that comes up for clients, this concept of navigating conflict, it's number one. It's something that I've heard you guys speak about in some of your other episodes, and it's always present for me. It's really trying to understand, what does conflict actually mean? What does it actually mean for the client? How are they experiencing conflict? So I really attempt to do a lot of exploration around the meaning of whatever the topic is, and if it's conflict, so in this case conflict, what does it mean for them? What are the emotions that come up for them? I try to do things from a holistic perspective. A lot of people, including myself in the past, are not necessarily always finding the awareness of the holistic experience we're having with something. So how does it feel? What are the emotions? What are the thoughts? What is the mental experience? What is the physical experience around conflict? And what is, and then delving deeper. So depending on the client and the circumstances, sometimes there's already a huge amount of awareness that people have and clarity, and we can kind of delve into, more quickly or more immediately into where do they want to be, right? What is really going on in relation to the conflict? Are they stuck? Are they is there a level of uncertainty or confusion or discomfort? What is really going on around it, and what do we need to do next? What is the goal that they have? Who are the stakeholders? Who's involved? Sometimes the conflict is something within themselves. Sometimes the conflict is with somebody in their personal life or their professional life. But conflict shows up in so many ways. And so I really try to focus in on giving them some, maybe more of a process of tools that they can use to deepen their own experience and understanding of conflict, so that they can then walk away and apply that wherever and however it might show up. I also actually like to ask them to maybe go back to a time when they felt they have navigated conflict well, and use whatever methods already live within them that they may not have been able to transfer to this particular conflict, right? So I really try to stay present with what's there for them and what may come up, and then delve in from there.
Well, I like that a lot, because what I hear you describing is not only giving your clients an answer, but helping them build the skills to be more aware of where the conflicts are coming from and expanding their view. Because for many people, whether they're a client or whether they're, working things out on their own, they have their own perception of the connections and the origins of the conflict. And sometimes having someone else to help them unravel and reveal other places that may be contributing to that, or how they understand it, is just, it's invaluable. And so it sounds like you're really giving them those tools to do that. And my guess would be that you're probably learning with every client and every conflict, and you have a lot to give folks, whether it be experiences, and then you ultimately give them the opportunity to go back and say, hey, take what you got and see whether that will work here. So, my psychology brain is just firing on all cylinders now. So I'm really, really glad you shared that.
Thank you.
I appreciate the direction you were taking this conversation, because I feel like there are two different types of conflicts. You have the internal conflict, should I leave my job? Should I stay? And then there's that external conflict where it's like, I had this force outside of myself. Maybe it's a boss, maybe it's a peer, and there's a lot of friction in our relationship, and I'm trying to figure out how to deal with it. As you're working with clients, what are some things from a process standpoint that you help clients to incorporate so that they can navigate challenge better?
I try to bring in the tools that if you think about, when we're coaching, the tools that we use to coach are actually fundamental to how we show up in our relationships with others. It's building trust. It's having safety, being honest, being authentic, listening, and speaking from your perspective instead of with assumptions maybe from others. So when I say speaking, kind of using I statements, focusing on your experience, and then being curious, right? So curiosity. What does curiosity look like for the client, right? How do they show up with curiosity? How might curiosity be helpful? Reframing a perspective, having open-mindedness. So I really try to bring in all these concepts that I fundamentally use in coaching every single meeting I step into, that we can use to build on. If you think about conflict and conflict resolution, and navigating conflict or disagreements, right? I think conflict is kind of a result of a disagreement, and but if you're in the space of sitting with this situation, there's having clarity on what is happening. So building the awareness and the clarity. Then to me, there's this whole part of assessing with curiosity and open-mindedness, and then work into how do we resolve this? or what is there to be resolved, right? And keeping in mind, what the goal is, what your goal is, but also what is the goal to the extent it's a conflict with an external entity. What is the goal for all of us? Because sometimes our goals are not aligned with the goal of that everyone has. And so it's good to also find some clarity there.
I love how you talked about teaching the coaching skills because I frequently feel like my clients will say, "Oh, I like what you did there. I'm going to do that with somebody else." I also find that, you know, we have to understand things from multiple perspectives because normally when we have a problem, we start to focus a lot on ourselves. We forget that there's other people involved. And that with that conflict, there's somebody else that's going through the same like emotions and problems and challenges. And I feel like one of the beautiful things about that coaching relationship is that you're providing a safe container for somebody to actually pause and try to get outside of themselves and kind of see things from other perspectives so that they can see new solutions. So what you just shared, I love that process. It makes a lot of sense. It's one that I use, and I think that it's one of the benefits that individuals can get from coaching is just learning how to be a better listener, kind of be more curious and be willing to explore that there's not just one way of doing things, that there's a lot of ways that you can accomplish your goals.
Yeah, Dorian, I agree with you because as I'm listening to it, I could just mention there's so much that she's bringing to that process that the client may not be able to do everything immediately. And I'm sure there's not a checklist of things to do, but there may be someone who's listening or somebody's listening and has a colleague or friend or family member who they know could benefit from getting better at navigating conflicts. And I just wonder, again, you can't give them everything, but is there anything or maybe one thing a person typically could start with? Maybe it is the listening, but what's one thing that they could start with this week that would help them build their skills to be more effective with navigating conflicts?
Just one thing. This is so hard to, to answer. I would say, I would like to say on that, I think really showing up for if there's a conflict or disagreement that is present in your life in this moment, whatever aspect of your life, test yourself on or challenge yourself or experiment, whatever feels right to you, with the concept of exploration. Explore what you're experiencing. I think I talked about this a little bit earlier today, like how you're fully and holistically experiencing this conflict. Explore maybe where it's coming from, what is underneath that, what are the facts, what are assumptions. So gain some clarity. And as an umbrella to all of this, maybe challenge yourself in thinking of conflict or disagreement as an incredibly powerful and useful and helpful phenomenon that is integral to our growth, to our development, and to becoming whatever it is that we have set out to become in our lives and for the people who we love and for the world that we want to be in. I think looking at it as something that is necessary and that actually is a helpful thing. So it's almost a tool. Think of it as a tool to achieve a goal that you want to achieve. This is to me a powerful way of thinking of conflict. And I think having that being the umbrella, and exploring from that place might be a powerful way to come up with some resolutions that are helpful for you and for those around you.
I'm going to steal Dorian's phrase. I love this. But it was so challenging because everything you were saying, I was like, I'm going to say powerful. And then you would say something else. And then you were like necessary. And then there's tool. So there's no way to just summarize this, but the idea that you would shift your mindset to reorient challenges, as we talk a lot about, or excuse me, conflicts into opportunities for growth. I think that's a huge shift. And I think it is a shift that can bring upon growth. And so we are now going to make a shift.
Hey, Rudy, before we jump into
All right.
this shift, I just want to say something because with conflict, I think there's a lot of people that are like, conflict's a bad thing.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the things I really try to emphasize is that there's constructive conflict and then there's destructive conflict.
Yeah.
So an example of constructive conflict, if I'm walking around and my shoe's untied and somebody says, "Hey, I'm gonna stop you, tie your shoe." There's a there's conflict. Like I'm doing stuff, he interrupted me, and it's like, but it's constructive because it's going to prevent me from tripping. Now, destructive conflict, that may be a situation where somebody is stopping me and harassing me and doing things that causes harm to me or breaking me down or causing me to lose confidence. So I think that the way that we address problems, and if we're doing it in a way that we're helping others and helping ourselves, like people should celebrate that. People should look for opportunities to create conflict because we're making the world better. If conversely, we're going around conflict the wrong way, we're spreading hate, anger, things of that nature, then we're making the world worse. And that's something that even as humans, we should look at as opportunities of, hey, this person just doesn't know how to deal with situations properly. Let's teach them how to deal with situations so that we're not having destructive conflict. We're actually having productive conflict, and the world's just becoming a better place.
And if I can respond to that, Dorian, thank you for bringing that up. Because what that brought up in me is even the destructive conflict actually ultimately serves a purpose. We are all, each one of us, in a different space of growth and learning and development. We have different histories, different experiences, different reasons and backgrounds for why we are showing up today in whatever way we are showing up. And even when somebody shows up in a hateful, and this is a challenge for myself right now, when somebody shows up with a hateful or destructive or ill-intended action or way of being towards me or others, I think that if we can remain in a space where we can redirect it for ourselves and for them or anyone else around us, I don't like to use the word positive and negative, but in a way that is helpful and a way that can carry growth and learning, then I feel like we are living in a whole different level than when we react to it, maybe, which is what we typically, right, which is the automatic is to react. And so I like what you said about really kind of using that as a template for bringing something from a perspective that hopefully resonates and brings out some other perspective in those who are bringing this issue. And so, yeah, I think that that's a powerful, it's a big challenge and it's a powerful one.
I would agree. I'm glad you all added that on. I think that's going to be helpful for our audience. That's really valuable. So now we get to turn the tables. We get to let the coach do what the coach does best, which is ask questions. And so you have the opportunity to ask us one or two questions about either this topic or some other topic. So what do you have for us today?
If it's okay, I do want to stay with this topic. And it's such a beautiful topic and such a relevant topic, I think, in today's time. I would like to ask you if you can imagine a time in your life, and maybe, even before you became the coach and the person you are today, sitting here today, If you can imagine an experience of a difficult conflict that you've had, what is the biggest learning, growth, and reframing perspective, or anything else around this that you feel that you can share, that you feel was really helpful in your capacity to navigate the conflict?
I'll start off. Yeah. I can remember time when I was with 7-Eleven. It was probably like the second year then to me being a vice president of operations. And I'd had a good amount of success, was, getting a lot of praise. And I think I was starting to like read my own headlines. And I remember there being an issue where there were some other stakeholders in support functions that I did not feel like were supporting the operations team to the level that we needed. And I'm somebody that is, I'm very passionate, but I also am very reserved and try to be controlled. But the stress of my team and just us not delivering the results that we needed was bringing out some of the worst behavior in me. And what I lost sight of, and I try to remember this personally, and I try to help other people as they're navigating challenges, is that I have this analogy called kicking the dog. And like if you're really angry at somebody else, it may feel good in a split second to kick something. But what are you actually serving in that? Like, you could hurt your foot, you could hurt somebody else, you could damage something around you. So, what I really learned from that experience is that in that moment, it may have felt good to like throw somebody under the bus or like point fingers and all those things. But all I was actually doing was eroding trust, eroding communication, and creating walls and barriers that were preventing that other person from working with me better. So, what I really have tried to continue to master is long term intentionality. Like, something might feel good in the moment, but if it doesn't serve you long term, you don't need to do it. You have long term goals, you need to stay focused on your goals. And there's certain things like trust and open communication and consideration and civility that go a long way for helping you accomplish your long term goals. So I try to make sure that I stay rooted in those things because I know that over time, if I'm taking care of others, if I'm listening, if I'm being patient, like good things will come to me.
Thank you for sharing that. Is it okay if I ask a brief follow-up to that? At the time, because when in that position, you acted in a way that, you know, may not have been terribly fruitful for the bigger picture, the bigger group. What was a way that you felt, or what was done by those who maybe were in leadership on your side that was supportive to you?
Yeah. So what I can remember, and this is why it's important to have mentorship and to have people that you trust. Early in my career, so you go back maybe 8 years previous, there was a guy that was in a position 2 levels above me, and we developed a relationship and stayed in contact over the years. He was in that room, and after I behaved in ways that wasn't productive, he pulled me to the side and he said, "You're not yourself right now." And I'm still hyped. I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He was like, "You're better than this. Like, you're not being effective. Think about what's really wrong, figure it out, and do better." And because he had the compassion enough for me to call me out and like knew me enough to understand that there were things outside of the situation that was causing me to act in a way that wasn't productive, it caused me to pause and reflect and realize this tough guy, aggressive energy was not serving me. There's a time and a place, and you have to sometimes use a hammer. But if you use a hammer every day, you're wearing out everybody and you're not going to be productive. So, for anybody out there that's trying to grow their career, like find some mentors that are going to be honest and candid with you, that know you and can help you get back to who you're meant to be if you start wandering too far off, and are exhibiting behaviors that aren't consistent with who you are as an individual.
I love that. Having mentors in your circles directly is a very powerful way of being supported when you need it in this navigation of conflict. Thank you.
So, Shakti, I'm going to take a slightly different approach in that I'm thinking about one or two previous experiences I've had when I've had to navigate conflict. And what tends to happen for me is I begin to see what's most important across multiple instances. And so what I would say is that there are really two things that I take from almost any conflict I have, and hopefully I'm getting better and better at this. And the first thing is the emotionality that I have. And I think it's easy for us all to become aware of how we're getting emotionally easy, either physiologically or in our thoughts. But a lot of times we don't take into account the emotions other people bring to the conflict. And so I know in the past, and to some degree now, my initial thought is not the emotions that others bring into the conflict that we're having, either one-to-one or in a group. And my ability to become aware and to adjust to the degree that I think it's going to produce an outcome for everybody involved that we want, that is something that I try to keep at the forefront. And it's something that I did not do well at all in the past. And then the second part is, in addition to the emotions that are involved in those conflicts and the need to be aware of them, is that there always are a point of clarity. And so anytime I've had conflict, as I'm getting through it, what it really reveals are the assumptions and beliefs I have about something and the other person's assumptions and beliefs that typically don't match. And so, you come into it thinking, whether it's something specific about, what somebody's going to do, or what the standard is, or what the deliverable is. But it could be more nuanced to that what tends to reveal itself is that I assume certain things that are not in alignment with what other people assume. And so what I try to do is to try to start with, assessing my assumptions. Are we having this disagreement, this conflict, because I assume something that I shouldn't have? Or how do I get clarity on that? Because sometimes I think there is that we are not aligned, but sometimes we're clear on this and it's something else. And so it's just, those things are my process to help me navigate these things. So as Dorian said, so we can get to a solution, especially if we're talking about a team, and especially if I'm leading a team, that we can get to a place where the team is moving efficiently. And almost every example of conflict has those two elements in it for me.
Thank you for sharing that. It brings up presence, emotional intelligence, open-mindedness, just beautiful concepts to bring to this topic.
I can't say I'm always open-minded, but I'm not going to.
Well, hearing
I would like to be, but I'm trying to be more open-minded. But yeah, I should be. Yeah.
I think, Rudy, that gets into we have our current state and what we aspire to be. And the first step towards growth is identifying we're not completely who we aspire to be. And then that can allow us to make some some small steps towards, personal growth and development.
Correct. Well, I love that question. Do you have another question for us that we can chew on today?
The other question that I had was more around, maybe in your current professional capacity as you serve your clients, what are some of the main ways that you support your clients as they're dealing with conflict? Is there anything else that you'd like to add that kind of addresses something that maybe, I'd love to learn and expand my perspective on this from something that maybe you're bringing to the table?
So I'm going to try to give the short version of this. As Dr. Rudy was putting together the navigating conflict, there's a military guy by the name of Wilco that has this philosophy around good. And really, the principle is that no matter what happens, you need to look at it as a good, as that is good, because it provides the opportunity for new opportunities, for growth, for learning. What's been super interesting for me is recently I've been reading about the Stoics, and Marcus Aurelius may have been like the first person that put that idea on paper. And he basically talked about with any type of situation, it's not good or bad, it's just an event. And it's so hard to master that. But if you can legitimately look at a situation of, okay, I just got laid off, it's just an event. It provides me an opportunity for to look for a new job or to do transition change or something else. There's so many people that I've worked with professionally that have gone through something that they thought was going to be the worst day of their life. And then 3 or 6 months later, they say, I'm so glad that that happened. I wouldn't have this opportunity if it didn't happen. I wouldn't be healthier. I would not improve the relationships with my friends and family. So it's really, our lives are going to have ups, they're going to have downs. The more that we can kind of take a long perspective on things and not get overwhelmed with, oh, this is so good or this is so bad, but just accept it as an event and that it's an opportunity for us to do something new. I just find that when clients can really embrace that, it just opens up so much opportunity for them.
It's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, I love that. And I actually have a perfect example of that because one of the things that Dorian and I are trying to do with the Power Six Leader system, one of our skills is navigating challenges. And so the challenge as the bigger bucket or the bigger skill, navigating a conflict could be one type of challenge, but that mindset shift is huge and it shows up in different ways. And so one of my most recent challenges that I'm navigating is I have a team member. My best team member is leaving for a better opportunity and better in that more access, more opportunity, more exposure. It's a next step in that team member's career development. And that's a challenge. And so, I can be bummed out. My energy could go down. I could get into destructive thinking about trying to replace that person, or I can think of it as an opportunity to grow, to bring somebody else in that can bring some additional talents that can create, more synergy on our team. And to Dorian's last point, some of these things we talk about, we can think of abstractly or as concepts, but when it comes down to doing the thing that you believe is right, that's not easy, it becomes the challenge, the personal challenge that you have. And so that's why I'm so invested in coaching, because most people, and you could make the case, all people need someone else to help them be their best self, as Dorian mentioned. And so I think we all live that. We may have a moniker of coach or professor or whatever we may have, but we all need support as we are trying to do the things that most times we know are right or best for us. So yes, I'm living the good philosophy of Jocko Willink to this day, and it's going to be an opportunity for growth for my team.
I love that. Really powerful stuff.
Well, we always, at this point, want to provide the coach the opportunity to just let people know if they're interested in working with them, what's the best way to get in contact with you. And I just want to put in a quick plug before I turn it over to you. So, Shakti really does have a passion around working with emerging leaders. I know that she's done a lot of work with nonprofits, and she's really the type of person that's going to provide a space for you to explore what is your purpose, what are your goals, what are some of those things that are holding you back, so that you can take the actions that you need to take in order to grow into your potential. One of the words that I was super uncomfortable with when I got into coaching was transformation. And it's because like that's like really big. Like how am I supposed to evoke transformation in others? But that really is what happens with good coaching. So Shakti, if somebody's trying to transform, from who they are today into who they aspire to be, what are some ways that they can reach out to you?
Well, first of all, thank you for those beautiful words. It means a lot coming from you, especially. Best ways to get in touch with me, if you're on LinkedIn, in my contact info, there's a site where you can schedule an introduction meeting with me. There's my email address, if that's preferred, and I can follow up that way. So LinkedIn at Shakti Radhakishun, or my email, which is empoweryou.shakti@gmail.com. I don't have a website yet, so that's something for the future, but for now, those are the best two ways to contact me.
Great, great. And we'll make sure that in everything we do to promote and publicize this, we'll put that information on it so that our listeners and our viewers can see that. Dorian, you want to begin to wrap us up with how folks can connect with you too?
Yeah, my name is Dorian Cunion. Pretty easy to find me on LinkedIn. Spend a lot of time there just trying to share helpful information for both small business owners, individuals with ADHD, and individuals that are looking to navigate their career. If you're interested in learning more about my coaching and consulting services, you can visit www.yourpathexecutivesolutions.com. And one of the big programs that I'm working with clients on right now is the Power Six program. It's a program that was developed by Dr. Rudy. It walks through the 6 skills that you need to be an effective leader. And I encourage you, if you're trying to accelerate your career growth and you're trying to be better about managing teams, reach out to one of us so that you can just learn more about the program. We have an assessment, we have workbooks around just helping you to develop as a leader so you can grow into your potential.
That's great. Well, I think all three of us are kind of LinkedIn power users. So folks can find me too, Dr. Rudy Jackson, on LinkedIn. We also have our Power Six Leader website where all of our core business content lives, our YouTube channel. And as Dorian mentioned, we not only have training for managers and leaders, but we also have a new product for ICF coaches who are adding to their ICF coaching an Emerging Leader Academy. And so it's a kind of coaching plus tool that will give ICF coaches a behavioral diagnostic tool for leadership evaluation. And we're actually starting our new August cohort. And so if you are an ICF coach, if you're looking to add to your coaching services and you want to give your prospects some more tangible outcomes of how you will have impact with them, I'll provide information on that. So with that, we just really, really appreciate you all joining us, listening to this episode, watching this episode on Spotify. Shakti, thank you so much for being with us, sharing all your wisdom and your experience and pulling out some good stuff from Dorian and I around navigating conflict. I thought that was really, really good. So thank you very much. Any last words from anybody?
Well, I would like to say thank you, Dr. Rudy. Thank you, Dorian. I really greatly appreciate having had the opportunity to be here with you. This is an incredibly important topic. All your topics are critical and very valuable, I think, in our everyday lives, professional, personal, all of it. And so thank you for creating this space and bringing out these awarenesses to the public.
Well, thank you to Shakti. Thank you to anybody that's gotten to this point in the podcast. If you've enjoyed it, please share it with somebody that you know. like and subscribe. We're trying to increase viewership and listeningship. So any sharing that you can do is greatly appreciated.
Like, share, and subscribe. Definitely. Thank everybody, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Coaching Gold Podcast.